Welcome to the Jungfrau Region of Switzerland, known for its iconic mountains, famous valleys, traditional villages, alpine lakes, and endless miles of hiking trails.
Over 1 million tourists visit this area every year. But in reality, you could spend an entire lifetime here and never experience everything this place has to offer. So, how do you choose what to pack into your short trip to the Jungfrau region?
If we haven't met, we're Janet and Brett, Aplins in the Alps, and we have spent years traveling Switzerland, and for the last year and a half, we have called Interlaken our home. So today, we're gonna show you how to spend one incredible week in the Jungfrau region.
But even if you're coming for less than a week, we've still got you covered. So if you'll have only one day, choose number 1 on this list. If you're coming for 2 days, pick days 1 and 2. The more time you have, the more you can fill your itinerary. So let's get started with our favorite place.
If we had just one day in the Jungfrau region, we would head straight to Mürren and Grindelwald. In fact, this is the first place in the area that we visited way back in 2012 on our honeymoon. And without exaggeration, I think we've been here 100 times since. Perched up on the cliffs above the Lauterbrunnen Valley, Mürren is a cozy car-free village with classic chalets, lush gardens, and some of the nicest tourist shops we have seen in the whole region. And don't forget to constantly look at the imposing mountains across the valley, the iconic Eiger, Monch, and Jungfrau. These 3 peaks are the epitome of the Jungfrau region, and you can see them from pretty much anywhere. The legend goes that the monk is guarding the young maiden from the ogre. Just a few hundred meters and a short funicular ride above the village is Almtubel. This has Brett's favorite playground in the whole region, and we both think it's one of the prettiest picnic spots too. But this is also our favorite place to hike in the whole area. We're talking alpine pastures with the tings and dings of cowbells, mountain huts where you can stop to eat, waterfalls that you can walk behind, and just endless beauty. You can either ride the cable car, walk down the road, or hike down a trail from Mürren to Grindelwald, which is a quiet, working farming village and worth a visit for a few reasons. First, there are loads of self-service farm fridges. Second, there are a lot of farm animals around here. Third, it has the world's first honesty shop, which is just a super fun concept. And last, you can drink one of the top-rated dark beers in the world, which also happens to be one of Brett's favorite Swiss beers. To see the best of both villages, we recommend making a big loop, and that's easy to take advantage of because there are 2 different ways to get up here. You can ride up from Lauterbrunnen to Mürren, and then ride down from Grindelwald to Stechelberg, or go in the opposite direction. Just a reminder that our 1-week guide includes a minute-by-minute timeline on how to reach Mürren and Grindelwald, where to eat, hiking directions, and a whole lot more, like how to visit the Schilthorn.
There are 2 main valleys in the Jungfrau region. Lauterbrunnen Valley, where Mürren and Grindelwald are located, and Grindelwald. So if you have 2 days in the area, we think it's worth visiting both. Grindelwald is a wide open valley with the village of Grindelwald nestled at the bottom. The main street in town is filled with hotels, restaurants, and too many tourist shops to count. But it's the hillsides and nearby mountains that you won't want to miss. The most popular is Grindelwald First. A gondola ride sweeps you up to the top, where the brave among you can cross a cliff walk, and the rest can admire the valley views from the panoramic terrace. We also recommend hitting the trail to Bachhauptsee. Not only is this an alpine lake that reflects the nearby mountains, it's also another great picnic spot. There's one main gravel path between Grindelwald First and Bachhauptsee, but there are a handful of parallel trails between these 2 spots as well. Use the Swiss Topo app to follow one of these alternate routes with the same views but fewer crowds. Now, most tourists love the adventure activities at Grindelwald First, and while they're exciting, we just don't think they're worth the long lines. The flyer, glider, and mountain carts often have 2 to 3 hour wait times, while we rarely see wait times for the trotty bike. And we're not over-exaggerating. I don't know that we have ever seen more than 0 minutes listed on the boards in the 4 summers that we've been visiting here. So if you want to do an adventure activity, we recommend the trotty bikes, where you can whiz down to Grindelwald in style. But be careful, these things are super fast and you'll need to ride your brakes the entire time. Another adventurous option would be to check out Pfingsteg, which offers a summer toboggan run and a fly line experience. Like we mentioned earlier, we don't spend a ton of time in Grindelwald Village because the village itself can be really busy and touristy. But we often walk in the hills just outside of town for the scenery and the restaurants. For example, here are a few of our favorite spots that you'll definitely want to save on your map. Eigerbein, Café 3692, and Stallbeitzli Heubode.
If you have a third day in the Jungfrau region, then head up to a spot that will allow you to see everywhere you've been during the previous 2 days. We think Mannlichen, which is perched on a ridge that separates the Lauterbrunnen and Grindelwald valleys, has some of the best views in the entire region. Now, a lot of you have asked us about how to reach these destinations, and that's why our guide includes detailed instructions on how to use public transportation to reach the start of each day's itinerary. For example, how to reach Mannlichen from anywhere that you might be staying in the region, Lauterbrunnen, Grindelwald, Interlaken, and beyond, including riding on top of a cable car. And once you're there at Mannlichen, the views just keep getting better and better as you climb the short but steep walk up to the summit. And if you have kids or just want to pretend like you're 10 years old again, spend some time at my favorite playground in the entire Jungfrau region, complete with a giant cow and a wooden bowling lane. There are a few different hikes from here. One is a flat, wide gravel trail with endless views of the big 3 peaks. And another takes you on a cow-themed trail downhill that ends at yet one more super fun playground. From Mannlichen, you can ride down to Grindelwald on one side or to Lauterbrunnen on the other. And since you don't need a full day at Mannlichen, it pairs perfectly with either location. But Lauterbrunnen Valley, also called the Valley of 72 Waterfalls, is one of the top hotspots in the Jungfrau region for a few different reasons. Obviously, the landscapes are just magnificent. This narrow valley was carved out by glaciers, leaving behind lots of waterfalls along the sky-high cliffs. And Trommelbach Falls is actually inside of the mountain, making it perfect for a rainy day. The village is small, but there are a couple of nice cafes and food trucks, and of course we recommend walking to see the Staubach waterfall. But don't make the mistake that most people do by turning around here. Take in the most beautiful part of Lauterbrunnen by continuing to walk further toward the back of the valley. Or, if you really want to make the most of your time, consider renting e-bikes for a few hours too.
When someone asks us what are the must-sees in the Jungfrau region, the simplest answer is to recommend that they spend some time in the Lauterbrunnen Valley, some time in Grindelwald, and then some time on the lakes, which brings us to Lake Brienz. Hop on a boat and cruise to our favorite spot on the lake, Giesbach, and then make your way up to the Grand Hotel Giesbach. Even if you're not staying overnight here, this hotel has a few different restaurants with panoramic terraces you won't want to miss. And while you're there, why not pop inside and check out the classic decor as well? But the real reason to visit Giesbach is to see the Giesbach Falls. Now, Swiss water is some of the cleanest in the world. But did you know that if you eat here, you can drink
some water from the waterfall?
The falls cascade down from the mountains above into Lake Brienz below. You can walk across a pedestrian bridge for great pictures. Or our best recommendation is to take the short hike uphill to literally walk behind the falls. After our friends and family come to visit, they always mention that Giesbach was one of their top highlights because it's just such a unique experience. And we've even heard from some of you that chose to stay here for the first night or two in the region. And a huge perk to that, in addition to the swanky decor and gushing waterfalls, is that guests of the Grand Hotel Giesbach get a free Nostalgia Pass. This is a guest card with some pretty sweet benefits, which we explain more about in this video and blog. You can pair your time at Giesbach with two nearby options. walk along a lakeside path, and spend a lazy afternoon swimming in the lake or having a drink on the shore. Or check out the village of Brienz. It's small, but offers a beautiful lakefront promenade and some of the most typical Swiss architecture you'll find. Plus, you might enjoy an outdoor museum filled with historic Swiss buildings and artisan crafts, a chance to learn about and even hand paint one of those famous carved wooden cows, the Swiss Wood Carving Museum, or a local brewery.
If you have 5 days in the Jungfrau region, then we think you should add Schöne Platte to your itinerary. And if you're hoping for an ultra scenic train ride, then you'll certainly enjoy the 1-hour journey in historic cogwheel carriages up the mountain, past Alps, above lakes, and through forests. When you arrive at Schöne Platte, there are a few different hiking loops to choose from, and nearly all of them provide you with mountain views on one side and lake views on the other. And if you already have any of our guides, then you know that we include detailed hiking instructions and maps, as well as alternate routes if you need something shorter or easier. After your feet hit the trail, you can play I Spy Edelweiss as you wander through the Alpine flower garden, let your kids play on the Sweet Action playground, enjoy traditional Swiss food from the restaurant's terrace, or listen to a live Alphorn concert. Then hop on board the scenic cogwheel train to head back down the mountain. Or, if you're like Brett, take a short snooze to the rhythmic chug 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 of the train. The ride ends in Wilderswil, where you'll get to enjoy traditional Swiss homes and gardens, an awesome playground with a super fast slide, great farm fridges, plenty of benches to enjoy the beautiful scenery, castle ruins that are nearly 800 years old, and even a brewery where you can sample local beer, whiskey, and spirits. And here's a bonus tip that applies to any of the days that you're staying in the Jungfrau region. You can enjoy an evening up at Harder Kulm. The views are always spectacular, but sunset is magical up here because you can see the golden glow on the mountains and reflections on the bright blue lakes. This is one of the only mountain destinations that's open late in the day, so you really can enjoy the whole evening up here.
If you have 6 days to spend in the Jungfrau region, well, lucky you. With this much time, we'd consider adding Jungfraujoch to your itinerary. But here's the thing. Jungfraujoch, top of Europe, is the most touristy, most marketed, and one of the most expensive experiences in the whole area. So it's not a great fit for everyone. After talking about this with hundreds of travelers like you, our best advice is to just go with your gut. If you feel like it's can't miss, then go for it. But if you don't really think you'd enjoy it, then feel the freedom to skip it. But we've actually included a step-by-step tour of this highlight in our 1-week guide because in spite of what we just said, it's pretty incredible. The train to Jungfraujoch travels through tunnels in the Eiger and the Monk that were carved by hand over 100 years ago. It's the highest train station in Europe, for crying out loud, and the only spot in the region where you can easily stand at an elevation of over 10,000 feet. You're guaranteed to have snow 365 days a year. So if you've never touched snow in your life, this is a great chance. Talk about Coldplay. There's an ice palace made from pure ice, and it's a fun spot to channel your inner figure skater skills. You can mail a postcard from the highest post office in Europe, and you can even hike 45 minutes across a glacier to a mountain hut, perched at nearly 12,000 feet. It's important to mention that it takes between an hour and an hour and a half to reach Jungfraujoch depending on where you're coming from. And you'll probably spend a good chunk of the day here, so get an early start. And it's worth mentioning too that spending time at this high altitude will probably make you more tired than usual. But after all the fun, there are still a few cool experiences to enjoy on your way back down. Ride the scenic and slow train from Kleine Scheidegg down to Grindelwald. Kick back with a view by stopping along the train ride for an enticing cream cake or a refreshing drink. Or pick a nice hike like the Jungfrau Eiger Walk to Kleine Scheidegg, the Eiger Trail down to Alpine, or the Panorama Trail to Mannlichen.
If you've decided to stay an entire week in the Jungfrau region, then pat yourself on the back, because today you'll have a chance to explore the last major area in the region, Thun. The town sits on the far end of Lake Thun and truly has something for everyone. You can't miss the castle perched up on the hill. If you trek up there, be sure to visit the church next door for great views of the mountains. There are multiple covered wooden bridges. Well, actually, they are locks and you can see the mechanisms working inside. Or wander along the riverside canals and see if you can spy some surfers. My favorite gelateria in all of Switzerland so far is here in Thun. It's called Gelateria La Favolosa. But as you can imagine, this bigger town also has some really great cafes, breweries, and restaurants as well. Speaking of eating, hop on a bus for a lakeside picnic in the beautiful gardens of a nearby castle. Or ride a boat to another town for a meal on the lake. And if you want to explore even more of Lake Thun, plan a visit to Spiez, the St. Beatus Hole in Caves, or the Weissenau Nature Reserve. If you followed us for a while, then you know that we are big-time foodies, and each of our guides include pages of our favorite restaurant recommendations. And one of our all-time favorite restaurants on Lake Thun is Luigi Brugli. Not only does it have incredible food, but look at these views over the water. Vacation always flies by way too fast, and so did this itinerary. But we've planned out all the details for you in our 1-week guide to the Jungfrau region. So be sure to check that out next, as well as all of our Swiss travel guides, and we'll see you in Switzerland.